There's nothing scarier to a living organism than the threat of losing something that is ours. Whether that's money, power, respect, or our very lives, we'll do anything to protect it, even make concessions with our enemies. But my name is Mr.Yyetti, and I believe that the way that we conduct our personal lives is the same way we conduct business, and vice versa. If that sounds like your cup of tea, make sure you subscribe so you stay notified of all of our weekly and future videos. Now, let's talk about mutually assured destruction. So this is defined by Cambridge as the situation in which two very powerful countries or entities have enough nuclear weapons to destroy each other, and so will not attack because the destruction of one country would assure or bring about the destruction of the other. Now, this military doctrine is used inside the business space quite a bit, more than businesses maybe would like to admit. And this is used inside of a lot of shows as well, whether it's Scandal, Succession, or Game of Thrones. But we also see this in the real world, like lawsuits. And, where some parties sue not because they think they'll actually win the case, but because they understand the legal fees that are tied to defending yourself might make it that you will just go with a settlement, which is not really a great way to use the legal system. But we have everyday examples as well, like keeping a secret and, when both people know a secret about each other, so they don't share it because they understand that if I let your secret out, you'll probably let mine out as well. And what this strategy does is force our opponents to weigh outcomes, much like the prisoner dilemma. And if you don't know what that is, I think I did a video before talking about this, but I'll briefly explain again. This essentially is the idea that in an endless game, it is much easier and much better to mutually suffer together to ensure that, in the next round or in rounds infinitely, that we're both kind of taking care of each other. We both don't enjoy much, but we also don't suffer too much either. But inside of a limited game, which, we technically live in, but also we kind of don't because most businesses are a going concern, it is better to just screw over the person you're working with to make sure that you maximize your gains and then leave them on the side of the road. But because of the going concern nature of business, if you do something slimy to a business partner over here or, someone you were supposed to work with or negotiate with, chances are they will have a chance to bite you in the ass later. Now, taking everything that I just said and put into more colloquial street terms, the juice is just not worth the squeeze. It forces a lot of businesses and people to say, you know what, let's just put this behind us. Or let's just both, decide to work together in a way that, we're both happy and neither of us suffer.
Classy. So, what is it you got against me?
You're the one making it personal. I'm just trying to do my job. Think of everyone, not just myself.
The interest of each is the good of all. That is the whole of the law.
You don't need to remind me of my Adam Smith. I taught economics.
Where? Kindergarten?
And I've seen this in contracts as well. Now, when I worked at an employer that I cannot disclose, and we were working on a contract with a third party that I cannot disclose, we were put in a bit of a pickle. If we offboarded this company, that means if we, exited the contract and decided to work with a different company, it was in the contract that we would have to pay, let's say, I have to make up a number because I signed an NDA. We would have to pay like $10 million, let's say, right? A lot of money. And you see this inside of some other contracts that you might have signed. Adobe used to have this with the early termination fees that they've had to get rid of. And other services like maybe banking, where if you move your portfolio, it costs you a little bit of money or a percentage of the portfolio, right? These things are starting to die down because of this idea of mutual destruction. But I digress. In this contract, they treat us very poorly. They would upcharge us at any opportunity, but never for more than a combined $10 million. Because they have to protect the MPV. If they charge us more than 10 million, then it's better to just do the switch and not be treated poorly anymore, right? So it'd be little increments, right? To make sure that when we weigh the outcomes, offboarding them still is a huge cost that we really do not want to be hit with. And this all comes down to leverage, which is a huge digression, and maybe we'll talk about it inside of a different video. But we understand here that for them, destruction is that we stop working with them and they stop getting the contract amount and they stop getting the revenue that we were giving them. We were giving them a lot of money, right? But it also to protect that and to make sure that they are not destroyed and, they don't have that huge chunk of revenue taken away from them. If they lose revenue, we're gonna lose some money at the same time. No side will be happy because the contract is obviously worth more than $10 million. But so losing it for them it would hurt, right? So to make sure that we don't actualize that hurt, you got to make sure that we hurt somewhere. And, no business likes just giving away that much money on fees. It doesn't matter how big this company is. They could be in the trillions. It doesn't matter. Giving away $10 million just because you're trying to get rid of an entity and not work with them anymore is a lot of money, right? And it all comes down to MPVs, and that's how businesses calculate what to do in these cases. But I won't go there. Learn it in your business class, right? But you can see how mutually assured destruction kind of promotes the inverse, mutually assured prosperity.
A group of people who do not like one another, as this recent demonstration has shown. We have suffered at each other's hands. We have lost people we love at each other's hands. If all we wanted was more of the same, there would be no need for this gathering. We are entirely capable of waging war against each other without meeting face to face.
So instead we should settle our differences and live together in harmony for the rest of our days.
We all know that will never happen.
Then why are we here?
This means that as long as we work together, we can both make a lot of money. We can both survive. We can both then, insert whatever thing that people are working towards, right? And we've seen this inside the telecommunication industry quite a bit. In Canada, we have two suppliers of telecoms, two really big guys, especially inside of Ontario. There's Bell and there's Rogers. And they've made sure, and all the other smaller guys that, may or may not be owned by these two, they've made sure as an industry that it's very easy to switch, right? Because they understand that if I raise a bunch of barriers and I charge a client $50, let's say, for switching over to Rogers, chances are Rogers will do the same thing. And it does not help the industry if people cannot switch between providers if the other one has a good deal, right? So the entities decided, you know what? It's almost like free trade. As long as you make it that anyone who wants to leave you and come to me is easy, I will ensure the same for you, right? And this is where we get a better industry altogether for the most part. But obviously that requires a lot of, legal stuff and regulation and making sure that, these guys aren't, colluding, right? For a lot of people, it's a lot easier to envision your destruction and everything going bad than you envisioning all the things that can go good. One is a little more visceral. If I tell you, hey man, if you post this story, I will sue the pants off of you. I won't even try to win. I just want to make sure that you get hit with some legal fees that you cannot even see the end of the verdict. You will have to settle, right? That's very convincing. And, it's a bit of a digression, but you see people like CoffeeZilla, for example, right? Where he actually has insurance against these things because, and again, it's MPV. He sees it far more valuable to expose grifters and talk about these people who are bad actors inside of the market. And he sees the value in that higher than the legal fees that might hit him, right? So he prepares for this side so that he never has to make the decision. It's just always a no-brainer to go after these guys. That's a bit of a digression, but that shows you how some people work around being caught inside of a MAD situation. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Where have you seen mutually assured destruction inside of your personal life or inside of your business life without, disclosing some confidential information in the comments? But what do you also think about what I said? Because what do I know?